Call this meeting to order. Let the record show all council members are present. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. What do you call it? Update to the agenda. There are no minutes, so we'll be striking that. And are there any other additions to the agenda? Negative. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. In your packet are the claims and the additions there. Any questions or comments?
Trevor Rosenbrook on the addition will be grants, base point building automations. Additions will be grants. Say that again?
Yeah,
The
addition.
very bottom one, the base point will be grants.
And Trevor.
There's no questions or motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Got anything for notices and communications pending? Okay, let's go down to unfinished business, and we talked a little bit about this a while back, but that house over on Mill Street.
Yes. Just would like some guidance one way or the other. We talked about it briefly on the phone, and it's about $800 for sirs. $300 for no. Yeah, that's 2, 3, 1. Just wood. 1,000 to 1,500 stirs are 23. So we can do nothing and try to sell it. We can do nothing and not try to sell it. We can fix the basement for 2,500 to 3,000 and try to sell it, or we can push the whole thing. One response back, you only wanted to explore.
The repair itself was my thought on that. We put a new roof on it. It's an inferior, it's for to build on or anything like that.
Kind of what you think?
It's an inferior lot, and if you took it down, you really can't do anything with it.
There's an interested party in the vacant.
It is very small. However, with the lack of housing around, that's the size of houses that rent. That's for me. In the past, but yeah, it's a younger work person.
So the cost of this is the 25 to 3,000 to brace the wall. And then what else? What other work would we do? We're gonna try to.
That'd be good.
And then what are we gonna?
List it, we can put it on an auction, we can have a sealed bid process. Those are the 3 main options.
She wasn't the one on the tour to see that there's like nothing inside there.
It's got it.
That's.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean it's a remodelers.
yeah, it's like only need to just add.
Yeah, the rough ends are there for the plumbing, but it's
So
all
what's it
stuff.
The issue that I see with them is it's going to cost $30,000 to $50,000 to make it livable. But he's going to do business, tiny little, not a little house.
No garage.
Over, and I think that
Not a municipal location.
no, and I honestly just feeling it's gonna turn into a not nice place. My personal, we have an interested person in the lot is to us take it down, get it out of there.
Sir, the bear lot, to add some nuance to that, for the bear lot, I think we could probably just negotiate with whomever because it would drop it below the value at which we're gonna sell it.
Well, and really, if someone's interested in buying it, it's because they want the property to put a garage up or something like that. At least we get some residual value on it, but for the neighborhood itself, how you tear down a blighted tree and let it be putting some benefit. I guess it's my board. I'd say we tear it down.
Get it back on the actual now.
And you think the cost, doing that is just the cost of the house, because we can do this for ourselves. We're under 50.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we tear it down.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed,
Would
no.
it be something that we could use for any training at all before we pour it down? All, even if it's just, maybe.
We could cut holes in it.
Yeah, or entry into the basement or whatever, and hope people not, something if we need.
Yeah.
We're not even a ceiling. It's just rafters.
You can go away from there for
Yeah,
But even if you just, it's like, a fireman removal from the basement or whatever, say the floor collapsed or whatever, and do a mock up that way or something like that, that might be a good training exercise for the department before we got rid of it.
Later summer.
Yeah.
yeah.
Be worth having Chris go look at it.
It's a kind of current-ish lot.
It's kind of landlocked.
So, and there's the structure next to it is brick and not wood, so you probably could lay the thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
We'd love to.
Would take them. Agreement with these. It's not the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unanimous vote.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on then to new business, and we have information on the bids for the shop.
All right, so the first pages in your kit are what we went out to bid for, the 11,200 square foot new public works shop, which would run the same direction as the existing shop after the green shop is demolished. That runs east-west. This one would run north-south. And so, pretty bare bones, steel building, steel roof, nothing fancy, green, predominantly heated, and a little mezzanine with a small unheated art office space, just a little bathroom. And the last time council heard from Weston, that estimate was roughly, like building materials was like 700.
It was just overbeat with all the other stuff, materials. The bare bones of it. It was like 700.
And you can see in your packet and up on the screen what bids came in. Bids were open on that. We had 8 bids received, which is great. One outlier at the 7.89 at the bottom there, but all the rest of the bids were pretty darn close to each other with JCF Companies LLC out of Pine City and for $1,037,080. This would be the shop. Then is the apron in around? There's aprons out from the doors, but no other apron included in there. So. Demolition not included in this quote either. Public Works going to handle that on their own. And so the discussion for this evening is, what do we want to do? Can we do it? And where do we go from here? And so we were always looking at a bond. We weren't going to be able to interfund loan or cover that, even at the $700,000. So it was over our estimate, but we think that the predominant reason for that is the fire suppression system. We're not putting that into our original estimates because we had gotten some mixed reviews on whether that was going to be necessary or not. And with our architectural review that we paid for with S2S out of Winona, we landed on yes, we certainly do.
Was that just in the new building then? So
Yes. Since the summer. So the next page in your packet is an email, like a bonding scenario from Ehlers. Just the 1.2, which you can see in the deposit, 1.1468 paid there. Actually, it's 1.3 include 300. By Bicentennial Park Shelter as well. As a reminder, we did not get the DNR recreation. But at the time, the precast design or group shelter, which you're not going to get us muddied into the waters. I'm going to stick to the shop, but we'll eventually segue into what do we want to do there too. But for sake of this initial discussion, step one, we were thinking 300,000 value was 286.7 into the project fund, so we're going to have par value of $1.9 million bond, which you can see down below. Initially, back on the 14th, the average annual debt service there. There's a few different bonding or type of bond scenarios. The most attractive one is capital improvement geo bond, and the piece of that is different than any other bonding scenario is that you would post for a public hearing, and after 10 days posted notice, adopt a resolution which has its capital improvement plan in it. Capital improvement plan is in air quotes because it's the city has certainly used the capital improvement plan for equipment and things for years. But this is kind of your short-term project-specific capital improvement plan for the sake of bonding scenario. So it can be up to 5 years. You can list however many projects that you want. There are certain projects like streets and equipment and different other types of projects that are not subject to a capital improvement bond process, but building projects are. Types of building projects, and like a fire hall or building where a certain dollar amount would be. So that scenario is such that after 10 days of posted notice, you would have your hearing, you would pass the resolution, and then a 30-day timer starts for 5% or more of the number of voters, not registered voters, that voted in the last election, file a petition challenging the capital improvement process, then it would go to a citywide referendum. And so if that doesn't happen, if that petition is not received, then the city has the statutory authority to issue some. And the process can go forward from there.
What's that number of people that voted? Where does that come from? Is that the general or?
That is the last general election, and that number for us is about 20.
Would be
It's other bonding scenarios would be a EDA lease revenue bond, where the EDA for the city would actually sell the bond, not to do the reverse referendum wait period then, but the rates are higher. And city could also do lease revenue, which is even less attractive than the EDA lease revenue, where technically the bank or whatever institution that's buying the bond would own the project, and it's like leasing. We've done for the fire trucks before, leased all of them. Rates are not nearly as like a GO bond. So CIP GO bond, you're looking at 4 to 4.5%. You're looking at 5 to 6.5%. Lease options. Or you do nothing. You abandon your project. If a petition is received, you have options there. Options, not all of them are great, but I'll give you options nonetheless. You can drop the CIP bond process and go on the lease process. I would heavily advocate not to do that because I believe it to be a bait and switch for your constituents. Basically, you're saying you're starting this one process. They have the opportunity statutorily to say their piece, and then, oh, just kidding, we're going to do it anyway with a higher cost of issuance and a life bond. Do it anyway. Or you just drop it completely, the project, and just don't do it. There's really no wait period after you would plan projects. So like there is if you lose. So if it goes to the reverse referendum, you have to wait until the next general election to have it. So this kind of leads us into the broader. Well, does anybody have any questions so far? This kind of leads us into the broader question of like what else are we looking at doing. Certainly the public workshop is close to the finish line. That project, as you can be, ready to award after we figure out how we're going to pay for it. We have money in the capital improvement fund right now for the bicentennial park project. That taking that out of that fund was not contingent upon the awarding grants, but if it was going to, it would have made it a lot easier, of course. They were going to pay for half of it. And I ran this one scenario just because local funding for one. What does it look like? Include that in there and not have to draw it down. The bicentennial project is the scope of that is tearing the existing one down, building brand new. There's kind of two different scenarios that we can do with that. Building new with precast walls and a concrete roof deck to make it more of a storm shelter, rated and longevity-wise structure that with then an attached non-enclosed area with a peaked roof over all of that, or you just stick build the whole thing. So I had the estimates for the precast 245. And we just got updated quotes like what a stick build would be. Tractor is 205, so about 40. Either way, we could probably cover that amount for capital improvement. There's a separate fund. There's a little bit of into the weeds too. TIF fund for Prairie Estates borrowed $120,000. The water fund and the capital fund, and the fund balance within that TIF fund right now is such that it's interfunded. whether it be 200, 300 or 350, that would be great. You also know we got $2 million for 34th Street. And there's multiple options there as well. So we get $2 million scot-free from the state of Minnesota, no match. Anything above that, we have to cover in some way, shape, or form ourselves. So the ultimate goal is to have a 10-ton spec road, concrete, and 2 4-foot shoulders. And then the minimum, so that's like the dream, the bare minimum would be like a 10-ton bituminous road with at least 1 4-foot shoulder. Now that engineer's estimate for the bituminous 10-ton road with 1 4-foot shoulder is like $1.9 million. The engineer's estimate for 2 11-foot concrete driving lanes with 2 4-foot concrete shoulders is $2.6 million. Personally, I think it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do the bare minimum when we're the low cost of, we're already getting $2 million. It makes sense to me to just do it full-fledged, right way, first, so that it gets last longest to maximize that state money. And so where does that gap come from? And again, we don't have rules and rules money laying around in fund balance. And so you're looking at bonding for that. 2, tomorrow with our attorney and financial advisors because I want to especially assess some of that because that will also, number 1, I think it's the right thing to do, and number 2, especially assess 20% of it at least, then you get a geo improvement bond, state statute, which reduces your rate quite a bit as well if you especially assess at least 20%. So I took like $750 just as an added number, par value of a bond, did 20% of that number, and your average assessment for people along 34th Street would be, what did I say, like $1,000,
Less,
$5,300 or something like that.
less than the mill and overlay on Maple Avenue.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's really, you know,
I mean, that's to be discussed with them, but I mean, I think, from what we go that route, what they're getting, I mean, that's like a fairy tale gift.
Mhm.
Yeah, and to play devil's advocate, not that I don't disagree with you or that I do disagree with you, but they're not
And they have to have some
necessarily
skin in the game,
certainly
Exactly.
absolutely.
But
do the people that live there need the 10-ton concrete? You know what I mean? Like that's gonna be there.
it's kind of like the Maple Avenue.
they will if you're gonna go back 15 years and ask them for money,
Mhm.
Definitely would.
right?
I don't predict there to be a whole lot of pushback now.
Right.
Because we're getting $2 million
Right.
from the state. So,
Can I ask a question? Can we throw roofs on there at the same time?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about them for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
If we're gonna do it, let's go for it.
Because it only gets more expensive.
So by this point in the discussion, you all see where we're heading. Is that like if we're gonna do this, does it make sense to piecemeal it out, or do I just do a very large bond? We've been talking about a fire. We're probably knocking on $4 or $5 everybody exceeds it. If the math that Chris and I did in my office was to take their tentative plan here, get that square footage, take 11,200 for our bid, our million, 1.035 divided by 11, which is like $93 a square foot times whatever this is. is like $525,000. And the design is not any different at all. It's a steel building, center drain, in floor, heat, just a pole shed basically without it being stick built, but it's not fancy. And the final document here is kind of the culmination of all of this discussion. And it's a $3 million GO bond series 2026B. You're looking at $750 for the street, 34th Street, 1.2 for the public works facility, $300,000 for the parks facility, and $750,000 for the fire department. $3 million. Portion of the public workshop is going to be paid for by the utility fund. Right now, in this scenario, I have 40% being paid. That's like what we split. A lot of our equipment is 60/40, 60 general, 3% water. And so, most important page is the final page where it says debt service schedule. And it's basically a sources and use statement. So all of your expenses on the left columns. And then starting with the assessments column is your source of that money. So your special assessments, that would be from your 34th Street, or your utility revenue. Your net is then what you have to come up with levy, basically. So the goal was to try to keep it like think of it like so this is a 20-year bond scenario, like a 20-year fixed mortgage type of thing. We don't want a balloon payment or a lot of ups and downs. And so that 180, 650, 75, roughly, you can see it goes up and down a little bit throughout the years. That's what you would have to come up with. So then the $180,000 question is, what does that mean for our levy? And specifically for 2027, we're looking at roughly $16,600. Every $16,600 is 1% of levy increase. That's just estimated until I get further numbers from Penny and get a little further into the budget. So what's 181,000 divided by 16.6? 10.95. That's what the levy increase just for the debt, that debt service. Starting right away, and well, potentially we'll get into that a little bit too, but that's what it would be to do it all at once. You can see that, and I mentioned that because that's just the debt service. That's not any increase in our levy that we'll need for other stuff, wages,
That's just
supplies, pencils, gas. We certainly will have an increase. I don't think it'll be that awful going into 2027. Insurance has flattened out both auto and health and workcraft, but it's, I guess, it's time to so just have that in fact. The second page has kind of the more detailed breakdown of that debt service schedule. And you can see that in 2027, you're doing an interest-only payment for $100,542.09 with this, how this is set up. You could just levy that, which would be 6.07%, and then start the full boat in 2027 for 2028. So this time next year, 2028 collectible. That additional $80. So that way you're kind of stepping it up incrementally instead of the whole thing right away. I think it's worth mentioning too that we got to remember that once you get there, it's there, right? So there's no more levy. Like if you have a flat levy or a flat P&I payment for 20 years, like that's the point of that, because then you don't have to pay anything more. So everybody feels that huge hit right away, just like with Maple Avenue. We were at like 13.5% or whatever, but now that it's there, that bond payment is the same, so you're not having to increase. It's just your bond payment, but we've never done right. That's very reason. So this is the whole global discussion of what do we do? What do we want to do?
But we're it's away from hammering into the budget too.
So
I don't know if we can wait that.
not for the public workshop. So that's a little bit of nuance to that too, because not all of the projects are subject to that CIP bond. So like the parks projects, they could be with the tax abatement bond. The two projects that would be subject to the CIP bond process are the shop and area. You also they didn't get into this either. You don't have to do the projects right away. So on your CIP resolution that we would pass after 10 days of notice, you have like 2026/7. And you can put fire hall 5 years from now, and then that resolution, that authority, if not petition, lasts for that 5 years, or you can do it sooner, if that makes sense. So you put the fire hall at the bottom. If it happens in 5 years, happy day. If it happens in 2 years, happy day. But also sell your bond all at once. So you have $3 million, now the money could just sit in the bank for.
Yeah, but
You don't have to bid all the projects all at one time and do them boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, we cut down on the origination cost.
right, the cost of issue is the big.
Right, okay, so what happens? Tornado comes and wipes out the fire hall 2 years from now or whatever, and you gotta then find another piece of land and go.
We would have 750. First of all, insurance is going to cover the replacement of that. Now, only here.
Yeah, what if you get a new mayor and 2 new council people and they don't know?
Well,
I would not be angry.
Yeah,
Once the bond is sold,
Are you stuck?
yes and no. And so, yes, probably for the first 10 years, it would be non-callable, because that's just how they're structured. That's why the rate is towards the low end, is because whoever's going to buy it is going to want to know that they're going to get at least 10 of those 20 years of interest. And then usually a bond is callable halfway through its term. So the 10-year it's 5, and a 20-year it's 10. So chances are, in a 20-year bond issue, you would be locked in for 10 years of paying principal and interest. And then you could refund the bond. You take a hit, obviously, because you will have full principal interest for 10 years, and you let that have done it.
I don't see as there's a reason to wait 5 years. I don't see as there's a reason to wait
no, I think
a year.
do it as soon as you can.
I'm just again giving you
Yeah.
a scenario.
That's not going to get you.
Exactly.
We've learned that.
You know, the money isn't there. Borrowing the money. Money's not there. So it doesn't matter. I mean, we've got this, public work knowledge. It's $1 million. 3. You've got, let's just say you do your best case scenario on the road out there. You've got $750,000 there. You do $500,000, give or take here. You've got $300,000 out there. You've got about 125. Luckily that we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Also, that we gotta, so are willing to look all of our taxpayers in the eye and say we're gonna, we raised the levy 5% this year without doing any projects. Now we're gonna throw 10.5 plus another 5 next year. You know, I mean, I guess where's our high water mark?
That's a question for you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Blake, when we were
You
discussing
know,
this
I
at
mean,
length
we know
last
how
week
much
or so.
backlash we got when we raised the damn water bill $60.
Some people still have.
You know, I'm
Yeah,
not
like
saying that, I'm not saying that they're not all viable, necessary projects, but I mean, we just, you know, we have to be able to answer to the people that put us in the office too.
Very true.
You know, everybody loves how cheap it is to live in Slayton. Well, maybe
what you
maybe
pay
it
for,
won't
too.
be, maybe it won't be for very long.
Well, that's
It can't be.
and that's the piece that
Big
Right.
things coming down.
we've
Right, but I mean,
recognized that
is it, but is it, you know, I know it's, you know, it's cheaper to do it now than it is to do it later, but you know, is it a project this year, 3 projects next year, 2 more the next year, and another project the year after that? I mean, do we put this out on a 10-year plan?
Well,
Or do we just do it?
in my opinion, it doesn't really make any sense to spread it out if you're not spreading out past the point of it being paid for. Because you're just going to double up on payments anyway. So unless a guy's talking about we're going to do one project now, and in 20 years when it's paid for, we're going to do the next project, you just as well do it now. Because we're going to be paying, at some point in time, you're going to be paying for.
Well, right, at some
both of
point in
them.
time, I mean, we can't foresee the future, but I mean, if you are prudent at what you're doing, you might get a $200,000 grant to do. You might get this, you know, might be state money to do something at another point in time. Might be, you know, and we don't know because we don't have a crystal ball. But I mean, again, you know, I mean, you know, I look at somebody that's living on a fixed income. We throw, you know, 16% levy increase on people. That's
Well, one of the other thing, that was the really scary part to me. With the way that this is structured, we don't have to do that. So with that $100,000 payment due in fiscal year 27, that means right now at budget time, you have to go from
you have to start with you start 8%.
that's 6.
6.07.
Yeah,
So
6.07.
you'd start 6%.
Start 6, so you'd have to do 6% from that. Then the following year, that 6% is already in there. All you have to do is make up balance, which is 80. Yeah, but makes it a lot better. But when you add a little bit to the levy, that means the percentage would be a little bit higher, and actually it wouldn't be 4.5. Follow. So rationale.
Like it's 16, so I was roughly like 14% of our levy going into 26. So my estimate is like 16.5 or 16.6 next year. So like hopefully it won't be 16, so it'll be like 18.5 next year. Is it super impactful? No, plus you're probably, I don't think our base is going to go down.
These are things we've been talking
years.
half a decade more,
I get
and
it.
we aren't getting anywhere. And this is actually an opportunity to get somewhere. Basically, check every box at the same time. And if you look at other than streets, no, those don't go away. Those are just always going to be there. But as far as the big things that you look around at all the buildings and whatnot, I don't personally foresee many other big things that we would have in the next, well, if,
What about a city hall?
Yeah, I was just saying.
So personally, I mean, now that we put, all the money into here, this current, good. I mean, we got dehumidifier and painted and yeah,
It's comfortable here, especially that system.
the roof doesn't
It's
leak
so much
anymore.
more
Like we need to organize this in terms of space. That was a little bit of a concern is are we going to run out of space? But to that point, now that the senior center is not a disaster and climate controlled as can be, there is gobs more storage space, PD and general city records down there that would be not risky at all.
Yeah.
It's dry.
you could actually put stuff in that basement.
It's huge. A lot of space down there.
Yeah.
PD wise, their building fits their needs size. Brand new shingle at the beginning of this year, and then he's getting quotes on some siding because there's chips in the siding and it needs landscape work. The bones of that building are size wise it needs their needs. They've got their cage for evidence and stuff too. So
And they could move their long-term stuff.
yeah. To piggyback on Blake's point, a couple of different things, more anecdotal, but these assets that we are paying for over a 20-year bond will certainly outlive the life. Right? So you're not going to want to put pickup truck on a 20-year. These things, building that will, to points made over here, will certainly last, double the amount of life of the bond. Another thing is just talking with our now retired legislator, Joe Schumacher. His thing was always, can we just check these things off the list? Can we just get some things done? And I understand your point completely of there are some things that will always be perpetually on the list, like streets, water, sewer. But these things, Weston and Blake's point is like you probably won't be looking at these things 50 years down the road if we do them now. And you've uttered the words like nothing is ever as cheap as it is right now, and that probably goes for construction costs and bonding as well. Yes.
Not disagree with any of it, just bringing up this discussion point. Well, that's you gotta look at it in ways.
Meet the table.
You're right.
We're all gonna feel. You want to see. Well, at least things or some one thing
Cherry on this discussion is like, what am I asking you to do? Tonight, I'm asking you to call for the public hearing to consider that CIP. That doesn't mean that between now and then you don't cheat. You can have. That doesn't even mean that after the CIP bond hearing on say the 6th of August, which would be on off night or whatever, that you any step along the way and say, I don't think this is the right. But right now we have a bid and we have people waiting to see if we're going to do the project. And our architect has spoken with JCF and they are willing to hold their bond because you're looking at being able to sell the bond and start construction like the day after Labor Day at this point. So that the 10 days posted notice and the 30-day wait, then that puts you right at that Labor Day date. And they're fine with that, but
Did you guys or did the architect talk to all, get a list of subs and stuff. Do some review that way, like we talked about.
I don't think so.
I think the sub list would be something that at least you can some suppliers. You can see if there's. I know Josh said there wasn't a lot of. Didn't seem like there was a lot of local participation. It would give you
There was some.
Yeah.
Some of it.
Mhm.
I'll just note too, in thinking about all these projects and the discussions we've had over the years about the need for various projects, including, the bathrooms and concession there at Bicentennial Park. I had the opportunity this summer to go to another small town, much smaller town, in fact, in Slayton, and use their restroom facility. And they had a very small building that they put concessions on it. But the restroom facility put our restroom to
Mhm.
shame. I mean,
Well, that's not a very high bar, though.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's just really that is used so much down there, and it's embarrassing the restrooms. It has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, can you go to your grandson games? You see it. It is every day of the week in the blink of a snap.
Our stuff it's been let go for decades.
I mean, it's just. Great.
The bicentennial was
I can ask them.
the other half a century ago.
The other thing that I had mentioned, because of that, from a public standpoint, people look at public works building. Well, I don't get to use that. Oh, fire hall, I don't really get to use that. Parks, bathroom, that's in fact everybody needs to use it. You see them, I think from a PR standpoint, they're all part together. They get to see something.
I think a thing to take into consideration, you're bringing up communities, there used to be cheaper communities to live in. Those so-called cheap communities aren't cheap anymore, and so now you've got an expensive community with nothing, no amenities, no fire department.
Can I make a motion to call for a public hearing on a CIP bond resolution?
Sure can.
So, yes, so this would be,
Yeah.
what I would propose that you do is the 1.2 for the public works plus the 750 for the fire hall for a 1.2.
Exactly what I said.
That, yes, because I
think I heard that.
had pulled 3 in there, and some of those you do not necessarily see it.
Like the street and stuff like
And you
that.
can add more to it after.
It's eligible for CIP. Some projects need to be in that CIP authority, and some of them, like the park shelters and the street, are not subject to that specific limitation.
Sorry. The bicentennial thing, you make it concrete, not a concrete, make it a storm shelter. More thought about that. Necessary, like this, but you aren't going to have any people in there. 2, Western Country is right there, and basically any staff can unlock the building. And 3, it's 2026. It's not like pretty well. It's. I mean, you've been dealing with something there for years now. It's just aesthetically, I think you can make a really nice building with some ways to go or whatever.
Yeah.
And for less money.
I agree.
That's a good point.
More than something.
Yes.
That's what we get.
So we have a,
Thursday, August 6th, 6 p.m.
for me, it's a Thursday.
We have the language of what it is, or you're still verifying what he's like.
I'm just making sure, because we have the amount, 29,
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
So originally, I don't think I got into this, but well, yes, I did. As I said, we get here, it's 200 to 250. I'm pretty comfortable that we can find funding to just pay cash or funds to do the bicentennial project. We're not going to be able to do roof and centennial with our own thing, so I don't know what scope.
So the scope map.
I will be honest, I've had no member of the public ask me when we're going to do a bathroom in the room. I'm not saying I'm against the project. I'm just saying that people are clamoring
Yeah.
daily for bicentennial.
So I don't know. That's just
Cedar concrete. Native.
so. I think something is there again. It doesn't.
You have there's these source wells that that they have these, yes, that you just, it arrives on a flatbed and you hook it up to plumbing and
God really has one. Stuff eagle's nest. What they're making shine.
Be looking for a big shelter attached to that to the kitchenette. Just.
It's only something. Anything. Something like you haven't done it.
Correct. I think that's minimal.
I mean, it would be fine. I mean, I thought we initially had talked about just doing the shelter part, and
Correct.
having it attached and having kind of a,
Yeah.
one kind of a deal there. It doesn't, like my kitchenette. Certainly the bathrooms and, that's what, it isn't necessary, but, I.
What are we spending on?
We're spending a fair amount.
I mean,
Less this year because we found someone else cheaper.
Mhm.
Yeah, the cost.
But the cost of that handicap porta potty is like some Josh planted there another night, like that. Not cheap at all. And sewer, no, water is already in the center of
Mhm.
Sewer is shallow in the alley on the west side, but it's a seasonal accident.
Mhm.
Even the one I don't.
Mhm.
Non-concern.
Hey,
All the utility work could be done by us.
Mhm.
You made Wonder World sewer.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think, to Josh's point, we could probably find something on our own. Anyway,
Well,
Anything else? We voted already, right?
yeah.
Sure did.
Okay. Well, let's
I'm gonna
go on.
Perfect.
Thank
You
you,
guys.
Winston. We've got a couple action items here regarding personnel at the fire department. The first is to remove Trevor Giesen from probationary status. Is there a motion?
motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. The other is a letter of resignation from Scott there. Thank him for doing what he did with the department. The way I read it, there's some regret that he's not able to stay on there.
He had a change in employment and wasn't able to maintain his drill percentage and
Mm-hmm.
we can give him that 6 month leave of absence and we had the end of that and it was a mutual decision that that's part ways at this point in time and if things stabilize for him eventually would come back and reapply. So.
I move to accept the resignation.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Now on to 34th Street. We have a scope.
This would be an agreement for professional services for DGR for the design portion of the project, not to exceed or estimated fee of $209,000. You can see the estimated project timeline there. We did have our project kickoff meeting for the grant process was actually last week. So he has, I noticed, to proceed with design would be that this contract, and then project kickoff and through design, and then you can see how it flows in from there. There would be a separate contract further down the road for the construction admin portion of the project as well, which will also be reimbursed by the grant. And so the numbers that I gave you at the beginning of the meeting with the 1.9 and the 2.6, that is inclusive of all of the engineering, legal, and everything.
Sure.
We're really ahead of the ballgame on this particular project.
Yeah, on that.
To make funding rate, I'll make a motion.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Who was the second?
Dean. Next we have resolution 0720-2026. This is for the election judges. The motion?
Is that the right resolution number? Didn't look at the one resolution you just did.
We haven't done a resolution.
Okay, that one.
Yeah, and there's the new one because Becky's name was wrong on the one in the.
Oh, I see that.
It's correct. Okay. So was there a motion?
Yes.
In a second?
Okay.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. And we have a gambling application from Curry Town and Country for during the fair on Friday. Is there a motion?
So
Second? Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. And then we need to have someone on the checking account who's elected. And so the recommendation is to make the mayor the signer who can be on those accounts. Is there a motion? Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. If no further business, is there a motion to adjourn? First Dean, second Blake. All in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. 1858. Where at?
Bam.